People who are heading in that direction know they're heading in that direction. They already know that. Let me tell you a way to escape that.
Come on, sir.
See, but it's when the pulpit began to say, you're all right where you're at. And people saw no reason to change. Heard a fellow say one time, the reason that we could not get people saved is that we could not get people lost.
Amen.
They didn't know they were lost. They'd been told you're all right where you're at. But God's Word is an eternal Word. Like it or not, believe it or not, one day you'll face that Word.
Yes, sir.
To be judged by the life you've lived. But see, the truth does not fill up many buildings.
Come on, sir. Blessed Lord.
It doesn't. People say, well, they got thousands of people. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there that's got big ministries that are teaching all they know to teach. But let me tell you that truth does not quickly fill up buildings. Jesus was the greatest teacher that ever set foot on this earth.
Yes,
thousands followed him. On the day of Pentecost, there was 120. His whole ministry, 3.5 years, he had 120.
Come on. Come on, sir.
So ministers begin to notice. If I tell people how good they are, they'll keep coming. And I can keep passing a little plate. And I can keep growing. But folks, it's not about how many, it's about how many is saved. It's about how many would go if the trumpet sounded today. See, it began in Israel with the priest and the false prophets, and it spilled over to the nations. It began in this nation, in the church, and it spilled over. It spilled over. You don't think God's noticed? God's noticed. God has noticed. He's noticed that sin has become a vanishing word in the churches. He's noticed that the salvation only by the blood of Christ has been watered down. So an article, I told you about it before, where it said, in this modern time, we had to change. That the world would not accept the picture of a naked man hanging on a cross as their salvation. Well, folks, if you won't accept that, you have no salvation.
Come on, sir. That's the truth.
There is no salvation except the salvation that He bought for you and I.
Amen. That's all.
But it doesn't sound good. That's a bloody picture, and the world doesn't want to hear about a bloody picture. But that's how much God loved you, folks. And there's no other way. See, He said He'd send us a spirit that would allow us to hear His voice. And all of a sudden, we got so educated we didn't need the Spirit. We traded the anointing of God for the emotional high.
Come on, sir.
Well, wasn't He anointed? He jumped benches and rolled at the floor. But what did He tell you when He got up?
Come on, sir. Come on.
Did He tell you the truth when He got up? See, all that matters in this thing, folks, is what God has said, because that's all that's going to matter when we stand before Him.
That's it.
God has noticed that we don't love one another like we used to. God has noticed, folks. Could it be that the silent time is already settling on the earth?
Yes, sir, it is.
Could it be that already too many people that once heard God has lost the sound of His voice? hiding from the truth. You know, Adam hid from it.
Yeah.
Adam walked with God in perfect relationship till sin got in there. He allowed sin to get in there, and then he was afraid of the very God that had promised him life. Maybe that's what's happening now. Maybe we've allowed so much junk to get into the churches that we're afraid of the voice of God. We've traded the Spirit, folks, for that feel-goodism. You know what? The truth makes me feel good.
Hallelujah.
It makes me feel good. But the truth will also, folks, make you straighten up and walk right. Because I was walking about as crooked as a man could walk
Come on, sir.
when the truth found me.
Me too.
I hear people talking about, when I found Jesus, well, I never did find him. He found me.
Yes. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
See, I wasn't looking for him, but he was looking for
Come
me.
on. That's right.
Let's look back for just a moment at Hebrews, the 3rd chapter. I know it was in this Bible when I left the house. We'll start about the 7th verse. The writer writing to people who was supposed to know, to the Hebrews. 3:7. Wherefore, as the Holy Ghost said, today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts as in the day, as in the provocation in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years. Do you understand that Israel knew who God was? Yes. They knew who he was. They just walked away from that. Wherefore I was grieved with that generation and said, they do always err in their heart, and they have not known my ways. They saw all of that, folks, and didn't know. Why didn't they know? Because they chose not to. So I swore in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest. Take heed. Now here he goes. See, we read a while ago where he said that Israel was our example, and he's telling people now that should have known about Jesus, that should have known how to walk. He said, you take heed, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. He said, you pay attention. Israel understood. Israel saw the works of God, and they walked away. You pay attention, brother. Lest there be in you a heart that wants to depart, that wants to turn aside. And let me just say up front, folks, nobody accidentally backslides. It starts with allowing things to get in your life. And one step at a time, you begin to move away from God until after a while you can't hear God at all. You've moved. God had moved. We moved. Paul said, take heed or pay attention, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief. He said, but exhort one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. And see, that is what is happening in so many places. It's because, folks, we see things over and over and over and over happening until after a while we pay no attention to them. See, I remember a time, you can turn the TV on and you can see right up front all sorts of evil going on. And after we saw it over and over and over again, if we're not real careful, it just becomes commonplace and we no longer even worry about it. I remember a time, if you heard of somebody getting killed, murdered or robbed in the community, it was a shock. Now we listen to it and just, it happens. happens so much. We just go on our way. And when we see so much, if we're not very careful, we'll get caught up in it. Well, that's all right. It's happening all the time. Everybody does that. Don't get hardened in your heart. Now read verse 14 with me. For we are made partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end. We're made partakers. It's not enough just to say, I believe in Jesus. See, the Bible believing in Him means I put my trust in Him. If my trust is really in Him, then I am trying to follow after Him. If I trust that He is the way, the truth, and the life, then I'm following after Him. The devil believes in Jesus and trembles, but he didn't follow after Him. See, you and I, folks, if we're not an example of the believer, then we've missed what God has called us to do. In Revelation 3, when John is finished writing to the 7 churches of Asia, Jesus says this: He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. Now, he wasn't writing to a bunch of folks that didn't have ears. He wasn't writing to earless people. But you know, all through His ministry, Jesus would say these things like, He that has an ear to hear, let him hear. See, we can hear the sound and never really hear in our spirit. And folks, unless we allow Him to speak into our spirit, after a while, His voice grows silent. And we don't have a clue as to what He's doing, what He's trying to do. You know why people right now don't know where we're at in time? It's because they've ceased hearing. When all the prophecies are right before us, you can't turn the television on without seeing another piece of the puzzle coming together. But people don't know. People don't know. To them it's silence. The voice of God is silent. It's just another thing happening. The prophets, He sent the prophets and He warned us. He sent Jesus to make us a way. Now, whether or not we listen to that voice, it's totally up to us. But the Word of God is going to happen whether we hear it or not. Just like He said. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening today, folks. You're not here today by accident. You might have thought that you just decided to come this morning on your own. But you're here because the Lord wanted to give you a word. Pay attention. Don't let the voice of God go silent in your spirit, where it no longer matters. Folks, this could be the year of the rapture. People say, oh, there he goes again. I've heard that all my life. The Jewish people heard all their life that Jesus was coming. All their life they heard it, generation after generation. But they failed to follow the prophetic timeline. And so when He came, they missed Him. There is in that book a prophetic timeline.
Yes, there is.
God, could I tell you something? Most of you around here already knows it. But God told us in Genesis 6 really how long we had. And we missed it. It would behoove us to go back and find it. And to study it and to look at it and to understand where we're at. God's wanting to do something in your life, in my life. Now is the time for us to hear
Amen.
and obey Him.